All right. So many of you know I do live selling on social media and stuff like that. So people slide in there all the time and they're just like, ew, plastic. And they'll just drop their comments and they'll just keep going. Or sometimes they actually are just like, is plastic safe? And you can tell by their comments if they're actually like curious, right? But sometimes they just drop a comment and they're like, ew, plastic's toxic. I can't believe people still use this. And they'll just say these comments and stuff. I actually love it when people make comments like that because it opens the door for me to be able to talk about plastic because otherwise it just sounds like I'm preaching, right? So I don't want to just like openly be lecturing people on plastics and the difference between ours and theirs and blah, blah, blah. Nobody wants to tune into that, okay? So, so I don't talk a lot about plastic safety or anything like that in my lives. It never comes up actually unless somebody makes a comment. So I actually get really excited when somebody makes a comment like that because that opens the door for me to be able to talk to them about why Tupperware is different. But I keep it very conversational. I keep it light and I keep it super simple, right? I'm not going to go into BPA and all the other initials and all that garbage. I'm not going to go into the science of it. I'm not going into any of that. You got to keep it really simple, right? Because the more you talk, the more they feel like you're trying to almost like hide something, right? So it sounds like you're double talking and you're just like trying to be all scientific to confuse them and they don't know, you know what I mean? So you got to keep it really simple, right? So I hate the term dumb it down because I feel like that is insinuating that the other person's dumb when really I'm actually dumbing it down for me because I try to explain things in a way that I would understand. Like if I didn't do the research and I don't know any, like before I joined Tupperware, I didn't know anything about plastic or any of that stuff, right? So in my mind, I'm talking to myself, right? So because if I'm not interested in a subject, I'm not gonna like dig in, right? All right, so when somebody slides through and they're just like, ew, plastic, or is that even safe? Or a lot of times it's something like, do people still even use plastic? Or something like that, right? And I'm like, so my first response is, oh my gosh, thank you so much for bringing this up, right? And then if they say something along the lines of like, plastic's full of toxins, or they say something like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Right. So if you can figure out a way to agree with them, that immediately takes their guard down, right? Because they're not wrong. Plastics are full of toxins, not ours, right? So it's really important to say that, but you also want to start with agreeing with them. If there's any way that you can turn it so you're agreeing with them, that's golden, right? Because then they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting her to say that. I was expecting her to get flustered. I was expecting her to get all worked up. And so if somebody comes in and they're just like, ew, plastic's so gross, and I can't believe people still use that, or they say whatever. I go, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you brought that up because I do want to talk about this because it's really important to know. But you're absolutely right. There is a lot of toxic plastic out there, and you have to be really careful about the plastics that you do use because not all plastics are created equal. And one of the most important things to remember is you never, ever, ever want to store your food in biodegradable plastics, right? Because biodegradable plastics are breaking down. That's their job, right? To break down, right, over time, so that they're not forever, right? And so biodegradable plastics, they're breaking down, but they don't have a start date. They already started before they got to you. And you know, the environment that they break down in, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold, it's hot, it's cold. Isn't that what you're doing when you put your food in it? Right. You're putting it in the microwave, you're putting it in the fridge, you're putting hot food in it, then you're putting it in the fridge, then you're taking it out, you're putting it in the dishwasher, or you're hand washing it with hot soapy water, then you're putting it in the fridge, then you're doing that. So that's the breaking down process. You're helping it, you're speeding it along with your food in there, right? So it's really, really important to make sure that you do your homework, right? So our products are not biodegradable. Our products are meant to last a lifetime. I mean, we wouldn't have a warranty, right? If it wasn't meant to last a lifetime. I mean, I have some of my grandma's stuff, right? I mean, some of you do, and then I'll even be like, who put in the chat if you have Tupperware that was like your mom's, your grandma's, or something that's more than 10 years old, right? Or something like that, right? Just to kind of get people talking or whatever. And then you just kind of, you say things like that, and it just their guard comes completely down. And most times, then the person who actually brought it up, if they actually genuinely care, they thank me. And a lot of times then they turn around and buy something. And so then I say, but here's the beautiful thing. We do now have a glass line for the people that are just kind of leaning a little bit more towards glass. We totally get it. And so we have a glass line now to help that. But the cool thing about our glass line is it's the best of both worlds, right? So we have the glass for the people that are kind of like leaning towards the glass, but we have our Tupperware seal that we're known for, right? It's airtight, it's liquid tight, and it has a vent on it so it can go into the microwave for you. So, and I'm like, so it just opens up that conversation to be able to talk about that. So that's the biggest thing is just to keep it super simple. You don't have to get all scientific. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a polymer, right? A polymer person, right? That's not who I am, okay? I'm not an engineer, all right? I don't need to be. Nobody's expecting me to be. I'm a Tupperware lady, all right? So it doesn't, that's all they're expecting from me, right? So, but simply by, if there's any way that you can agree with them, and then you can thank them for bringing it up, right? And then address it in a very conversational, very simple English, simple language sort of way. That's the best way to just really combat that because the more, if you start going back and forth, I remember one time Pam was, or many times she's done a training talking about building a wall, right? So when you are like you're going back and forth with somebody and whether it's recruiting or dating or anything like that and you're going back and forth, you're building a wall between the two. Like if you're not agreeing and you're going back and forth and you're combating and they're combating, it's one thing to overcome objections, it's entirely another thing if they're firing back at you with like coming back like what about this and what about this, and you can see that if you just keep going, you're just building a wall higher and higher and higher. If that stuff like that starts happening, you're not going to convince them. It's cool. Like it's cool. We're not for them. All right. And they're not for you. You don't want that person as a customer, right? Because they're going to just coming back, right? And don't be upset about that. When somebody's that way, don't be upset about that. They're not your people. They're not our people. And that's okay. There's lots of them out there, but there are more that are for us. So that's the reason why we've been in business so long, right? So it's so important just to keep it super simple and light and just work your way through it. So I wanted to just kind of talk about that. We've gone into great detail about our plastics and all that jazz. And I don't even know all the initials. I know BPA, but there's another one too. And I said, we don't have BPA, we don't have blah, 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 all the other initials. We don't have any of those things. And I will occasionally, I might go into like, we've never had a recall on any of our products. As all this new research has come out, we have never had anything in our products that has the need to recall it back, right? And then I also sometimes I'll talk about virgin plastics. So our products are made of virgin plastics, right? Which means we know the complete chemical makeup of it. The only reason why I don't go into that very much anymore because we have our eco line now, which technically is not virgin plastic. So that's the reason why I don't talk about that as much anymore because we have that. Then I have to explain the eco line, and then there's too much explaining. I don't want to explain that much. I try to do a nice broad stroke over it, so it's easier. But if somebody, and I also say, thank you, Michael. I know all the initials, all those we don't got them. So, but if somebody's really and I say, and sometimes if I can tell somebody's digging, and I'm like, if you want more information, I am happy to send you the information that I have. And I'll just like find whatever Tupperware has and I'll just send them that document, right? But I've never had anybody come for more information. for documentation. So, but I always, if somebody, I don't freely offer that up. That's only if somebody's really coming. Then I'm just like, I can give you the information that I have. So, but that's it. That's all I wanted to kind of bring to you guys. But it's so just, I want you to feel confident in being able to, talk about those things and welcome it, right? Because I'm telling you, actually get kind of excited when somebody brings it up on my live because I'm just like, ooh, I can talk about this. Yay. Because I don't want to come off as preachy and I don't want to come off as, nobody tuned in for a lecture on plastics.